Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to session 4 of MoteCon 2023. If you've been with us from the start, you'll have seen some incredible sessions already. But wait, there's more. We've got 5 more fantastic learning opportunities, all touching on Mote, but also, again, relevant for all sorts of pedagogical skills. So do stick around. There's some fantastic speakers, and all going to be hosted by our first speaker, who is Mote Ambassador Rick Ballou. Now, for those of you who don't know Rick, he is a 25-year experienced teacher. He teaches computer science, but I'm sure he told me that he used to teach music, so maybe I'm going to ask him a bit about that. He is also a Mote Ambassador leader. He's an ISTE certified coach and innovator, and trainer. So without further ado, welcome, Rick.
Hey.
How you
Welcome,
doing?
everybody.
Hey.
So great. I'm super excited to be here for Mote Session 4. Woo!
Woo! I know you've been catching up on a lot of the sessions so far. I mean, it'd be hard to say favorites, but maybe you want to share anything of what you've enjoyed so far about the sessions you've seen?
Great question. I really, because you mentioned it, and it's true. For the first 23 years of teaching, I was teaching beginning band. So I did a lot of stuff with music. And there was a session during session 1 when Steph Howell and Greta did a session about soundboards, and I'm like, oh, that's where I live. I love the soundboards. I think that's a super awesome way of using Mote along with feedback. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying I can pick favorites like you can't with your children, right? So how could I with these sessions? But I'd say the soundboard one for sure.
I know you are considered the soundboard pro as well. So all right, well, listen, it looks like you're all set. So I'm going to step away. You can bring up your slides and get cracking with the first session. So without further ado, Rick, it's over to you.
Woohoo! Hey, everybody. I'm doing a session. It might be a little bit educational. I apologize. I'll try to make it fun though, and not very painful. But I really want to get into accessibility and understanding why we use accessibility. There's a session I do called Accessibility, Everything for Everyone All the Time. And I feel that that's an important part of accessibility, and Mote is a really powerful tool that does pretty much all of that. So first off, that's me. I'm a Mote Ambassador leader, currently a computer science teacher. I'm also an adjunct instructor with a university here in Minnesota, where I'm from, where I teach a course on educational technology, specifically intentional use of educational technology. And I'm also an ISTE certified educator trainer. So I spend a lot of time really in the weeds, if you will, of the whole use of technology tools in education. And it's a lot of fun teaching teachers. So anyway, before we get started, we really need to decide what we mean by accessibility, right? And it can mean a lot of things. So we're going to use this first example from C right here, and I will read it out loud because that is a part of accessibility. Accessibility is the practice of making information, activities, and/or environments sensible, meaningful, and usable for as many people as possible. A common example of accessibility that we have all likely encountered is the context of architectural design. So the idea behind accessibility, many of us can use stairs, but a ramp can be used by all, and it benefits everyone. And so that's the definition of accessibility. But if we're going to use an educational context, what we mean here is, put simply, accessibility in education is about making information readily available and easy to digest for all types of students. Accessible education empowers students with disabilities to develop the same skills and achieve the same level of knowledge as their peers. And I want to point something out. Just because it can empower differently abled students, it's not the only reason to do it, because it benefits everyone. So there are 4 types of accessibility we're going to talk about. I warned you it was going to get educational. I apologize. And this one is called POUR. It's the acronym, well, poor. And so each one of these has a different specific thing. So perceivable, in order for educational content to be accessible, first of all, it needs to be perceivable. So in this case, it means information and user interface components must be presented to users in ways they can perceive. So this means that users must be able to comprehend the information being depicted. That's the first part of poor. Next is operable. User interface components and navigation must be operable. So the interface cannot require interaction that a user cannot perform. So in other words, it must be easily usable by all, the way to make it function. Understandable. Information and the operation of a user interface must be understandable. So it should be very clear cut. Users must be able to understand the information as well as the operation of the user interface. So in other words, it should be intuitive, I guess, is the word we're looking for here. So, and finally, robust. Content must be robust enough that it can be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of user agents, including assistive technologies. As technologies and user agents evolve, the content should remain accessible. So the term, I guess, is evergreen, if you will. So Mote is all of that. That's right. Mote can do all of these things. So let's do a little demo, shall we? We're talking about perceivable. The idea here is the information and user interface components must be presented to users in a way they can perceive. So I'm going to start off with this untitled document. Ta-da! All right, if you're like me, and I know I am, when I start typing something, I'll want to give it a title. So we'll call this document accessibility. It's kind of hard to see for everybody, so let's do one of those. Accessibility. Okay, so I know that that's the title, but if you're using a screen reader, you don't know that's the title. It'll just start reading. One of the things that's important that we don't often think about enough when we're using even docs or Word documents or anything like that is this part right here. This is not only a great way to signpost a document to make it easier for you to look at when looking at this little outline dealy here, right? See, now it says that's the title. But if you're someone who is using a screen reader, this will now go through and read this document and say that accessibility, or title of document, accessibility. This is something we don't necessarily think about, but it's something that's very helpful to everybody. So not only did it, because now even if I don't like the size or the shape or whatever, like I want to go back to, I mean, old school, I want Times New Roman. Where are you? There you are, Times New Roman. So even though I want this to be Times New Roman, and I want this to be a size 12, like everything else, to be old school APA, this looks the same, but because I set it as the title, now someone using a screen reader is going to see that this is the title of the document. But we can take it even a step further with Mote. So I can highlight this, and then if you look over here, because I have the Mote extension installed, I click on this and create a hypermote. So I'm going to click here. The title of the document is accessibility. So now what it's going to do is, let's say you aren't necessarily using a screen reader, but now I can click on this as a user and hear it. And because I could be giving this to someone who does not necessarily speak the same language as me, I can now click translate and choose one of these other languages in order for me to read it. It will still come across the way I said it. I'm hoping you all heard that. But you can see the translation comes up. Yep. I agree, Mel. I do too. Oh, you can't hear it, by the way? Love the translation. Oh, all right.
Hey, yeah, Rick, I was going to step in. Yeah, because we can't hear your audio, but everything else I
Okay.
think is making a bunch of sense. And the cool thing is, because you got the transcript, we kind of know what you're saying. So
Oh yeah, for sure. I was going into the settings to see how I can share my sound, but you heard me say it the first time, so we'll just go with that. But yeah, here again, I said it, and with the transcript, you can see it in its original form. So that is one way that you can make your accessibility perceivable. So now someone using a screen reader will have it come up like that. And there's now the hypermote that will allow the user to hear it as well. Another thing to consider is operable. So the user interface components and navigation must be operable. The interface cannot require interaction that a user cannot perform. So in other words, it has to be it a way to put this is you're not going to put it on the highest shelf, right? Like if it's something physically in space. But one of the nice things about Mote is it is very easy to do. As long as you can click the screen, you can make it happen. So I'm going to come out to this. This is the document, my original slide deck. We're going to come right here to perceivable. If I wanted my students or my learners or whoever to be able to hear what it is that this says, I can just go ahead and insert a Mote like this. Operable. User interface components and navigation must be operable. The interface cannot require interaction that a user cannot perform. So now it is right there. I click insert and it's going to auto-magically, love that word because it's true, auto-magically insert it into my deck, right? And the best part is all they got to do is click here. That's all my learners have to do in order to use this accessibility tool. It is fully operable because all they have to do is click this right here and they'll be able to hear it. Again, you won't, but you heard me do it the first time and they just simply click this and it's going to speak aloud. So, and if you want to make it even more convenient, it is possible to change the look of this by uploading an image or just going in and changing it through format options. But honestly, what works for me, what I find that my students are able to understand and navigate and click on the easiest is when they see this, and I leave it as the Mote colors because I love the purple. As long as you leave it like this, my students know that, hey, I should listen to something. It's got that little speaker, I guess it's not an emoji, speaker icon, right? And they know to press on it. Next is understandable. Information and the operation of the user interface must be understandable. Users must be able to understand the information as well as the operation of the user interface. And again, Mote does this perfectly. What it does is it gives you an icon that is clearly a speaker, and you can use this to click on it and understand what it is you need to do. You can also, I'm a big fan of doubling the playback speed, but that's just me. Anyway, the idea here is by it being operable, be chucked into anywhere. Oh, yeah. I love that Mel threw this up there. Also, good to see you, Mel. Love that Mote can be chucked into anywhere. And that was something I was going to talk about, but you've already brought it up. Mote works beautifully with literally everything in your waffle, right? If you are a Google user, it's going to work on literally all of it. So it's fully understandable. The information is, well, like it says here, understandable. It's something that I've really enjoyed doing with Google Forms. So let's just do a real quick example of one right here. Let's just create one. I can right here give a description. accessibility and demo time. So I can come here and I can choose to insert my Mote right there to be, I stopped it early, but now I can have my examples be like, I don't have to type the question. I can have the Mote be the question, right? I can also, which is even better, my students have the opportunity to, when they respond, they can leave it as a Mote. They can click to record their response, which again, as soon as I've explained to them what this is and they have it installed in their on their Chromebook in their browser, right? They can use this for everything. And I've been using this for quite a while with many of my students. In fact, it was a blog post I was talking about where I would be teaching them words, and the form that they turned in was them recording their actual pronunciations, right? Because when I was teaching music, there's a lot of Italian words that the students don't know how to pronounce. So I could do something like this, say, pronounce fermata. Make it required. Have it be short answer. And then when I send this out, the students know that they have to click to record a Mote pronouncing fermata. Then when they do it, I can just simply see it in my Google Sheets, which is super duper fantastic. So it's a fully understandable interface that my students are able to use, and well, everyone, frankly, and robust. This is the one that I love vid to produce. So one of the things that I absolutely love about Mote is the fact that it is robust, and I believe the term that I want to use here is future proof. All of these recordings are saved on Mote's website, but you can also download those and save them in your drive, and you can keep them forever. So Mote has probably the most robust accessibility tools that are out there, because they're going to be stored as an audio file that can come with you forever. I have audio files that I first downloaded back in the heyday of, LimeWire and stuff like that, that are still fully functional because they're saved as an audio file. And the best part about Mote is it does that automatically. Everything that you save on Mote, you can download as an audio file, and you can embed it any way that you want. So I would say this is probably, it's hard to demonstrate, frankly, but it is the most robust tool that's out there. So I ended a lot quicker than I assumed I would, but I wanted you all to know how important accessibility is and how much Mote covers all of that. So, oh, hey, Will.
Hey, Rick, that was awesome. But you're not getting away with 19 minutes. Come on, I'm sure there's more questions. There's some more questions from the crowd out there. But while we're waiting, so you, I mean, like you obviously focus this on accessibility.
For sure.
I wonder, do you have any stories of how you have used accessibility to unlock, particular student success or a whole class even? How have you found broadly accessibility to really pay dividends for you?
That's a really great question, and I have two examples. The first of which is I had a student that recently moved to Bloomington who was a speaker of Pashto. And Google
Translate?
Yeah, well, Meet specifically.
Meet. Oh, yeah.
What we've been doing for a while for many of our students is we would have them just turn on a live Google Meet, turn off their camera, and I would blah blah blah, and they would then do the captions for them. But that's the problem; it doesn't include Pashto, right? So that was not terribly helpful for my students. So I was able to use Mote with that.
Awesome. I should know that we support Pashto, but I was hoping that we did.
I might have the language wrong. I know it was a language that now
Urdu. We definitely support Urdu.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
Okay,
But yeah, it was not something that Google Meet does, right? Google Meet now has added a few more, but really it's only been English and Spanish and I think French. But like Spanish covered like 90% of our students, right?
Yeah.
To be useful for all. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Can share some accessibility features within Mote that are essential for learners who need it. Yeah, I would love to. I was going to share my one more example, and then I'll
go for it. All right.
And it's in my most recent blog post. I spend a lot of time having to, at least in my old life, right? When I was teaching beginner band, I would be constantly explaining these Italian terms because for whatever reason, all the music concepts are in Italian, right? I mean, there's a reason for it, but I'm not going to get into it here. The fact is, music terms are in Italian, period. That's just how it is. And so I would be saying like, okay, you're going to do this marcato. And marcato? No, marcato. It's pronounced marcato, march like. Cool. We did it marcato. Again, no. And so I would have these fermata, not fermata, decrescendo. So I would have to, and I mean, I mispronounce words all the time because I think it's funny. Yeah. However, when I'm trying to teach my students, I would rather they know how to do it properly, right?
Yeah.
And so I was able to create a Google form that would I would put the words and then they would click a Mote and respond to it in the language like pronounced properly. The first time though, because again, I would tell it to them. Sorry, hold on.
Just trying to be helpful.
She was. But the first time I gave it out, I was able to use the Mote for me, where I would say marcato, and then they would replying exactly the same. So they did it the first few times, and then the final assessment, right, was the one where I just wrote the word and they had to say it back.
Nice. So, that's very cool. That's very cool. And I think, like to your point, I mean, I think the fact that it just integrates into tools they're already familiar with, I think that's the power. I mean, that's really good. Okay, we're going to go to it was Rick's big one. It was Mark's question about accessibility is essential for some but useful for all. Actually, I mean, I think both of those pieces are really important, and I actually think it's, we always focus on the extreme cases because it helps illustrate, but actually, that sort of useful for all element, right? Like giving optionality. I mean, I maybe if I can share sort of one perspective, which is, I talked over the years. One of the features that we have with Mote when we first launched, we've always had is voice to text transcription. And initially, you couldn't actually turn it off, and it made people crazy. And part of the problem was also, originally we only supported English, and then we added other languages. People would say, "Oh, he doesn't know what language I'm speaking." Well, you can change the language setting, but we switch it off, and sometimes we try and switch it back on again for default. But what I try to explain is, as a recipient of this, it's so much more valuable to that recipient. So much more you can do if it has the transcript, right? Yeah. So you have, yes, of course you can listen, which is super powerful, and you have that transcript so you can translate it, or you can go back and refer to it a second time. These things are just like, again, I guess we know these things, but it's so important to remind ourselves and think from the point of view of that sort of recipient to give that optionality.
Absolutely.
So I think of that as an important, really important, useful for everyone, and even more important and essential for folks who really need it.
Yeah, like an example of that in my own life. I'm currently, technically, legally not hearing impaired. However, 23 years of beginner band. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of things I don't necessarily hear.
Right.
I don't know the last time I've watched something on TV that didn't have captions running. Right?
Right.
I need it all the time, and that when you said we couldn't turn off the captions in Mote, I'm like, why would you wanna? But I can see where it would bother some people.
There are some folks, there are some folks whether they're for the accent or or they just haven't figured out the settings. So, well, this has been great. We've had a lot of love from the audience here. So thank you everyone who's participated and contributed comments. We really appreciate it. Keep it coming. Coming up next, we have a very exciting guest. We have Mark Anderson joining us. So don't go anywhere apart from to grab some liquid refreshment, stretch your legs, and we will be back in 4 minutes for the next session.
Woohoo! Hello. All right, we're going to keep on rolling. Next up, we have Mark Anderson. Mark is a teacher of 20 plus years. Notice you didn't add the number there. I should start saying that instead of giving the actual date. 20 plus years, an award-winning author and blogger. He now works with schools, supporting them with their ed tech. He's been doing that since 2015. In 2021, he started to work part-time as the head of education at Net Support. So let's give a warm welcome, applause from wherever you are, for Mark Anderson. Let's bring him up.
I don't appear to be there. Can you hear me, Rick?
I can hear you. That's weird.
Well, that's a good start. You can hear.
Yep, I hear you.
I've been told I've got a face for radio, so maybe that's a good thing, right?
I've been told the same thing. I don't know how I feel about it. Well,
let me just see what I can do about that while we're talking. And thank you for the lovely introduction there as well.
Well,
let's just see what I can do to try and fix my issue.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll just kind of remind everybody that we will have this session is obviously being recorded live, which all of you, the thousands of people watching live, are well aware of. However, this will go. Oh, there you are. This will continue to be living on YouTube forever, and we'll be splitting it up into each individual section. But those of the thousands of you here now live get the benefit of seeing it all together. But anyway, hey Mark, how's it going?
Really good, thank you, Rick. And I was getting sort of purple background envy from the lovely MoteCon slide you got behind me, so I've gone for the purple. Because I did promise on social media that my session would be like the motiest session, and so and you were saying no, you got to keep it purple. You love the purple too, so I had to go for the purple background. So
makes sense. I like it. So if you want to click that button down at the bottom that says present. You can share your screen and I'll duck out. If you need me, holler. I'm just going to be in the back, but I'm going to let you take it away, Mark.
Brilliant stuff. Okie dokie. So I'll jump straight into my presentation and I'll share it like this. Hopefully you can see that okay there, Rick.
Yep, we're good. Take it away,
Brilliant.
sir.
Cheers. Thank you very much. So, feedback, really important. Mote is such a fantastic tool for feedback. Now, I will be sharing a few things to do with Mote and how we can use it in the classroom. But given this is MoteCon, I thought, I'm not really going to be adding much innovation to what is already a fantastic tool. So what I thought was, rather than trying to make your use of Mote more innovative in how you use it, I thought I'd sort of just take a step back and think about feedback. Feedback as a tool, feedback as something that helps us as educators. And well, we'll unpick that during the course of the session. Thank you so much to Rick for his kind comments about my work. I thought I'd share a little bit about me. Hope that's okay before we get into the feedback bits and bobs. I wanted to share that I am a former teacher, middle and senior leader. I'm also, that's what the FCCT stands for at the top just here, founding fellow of the Chartered College of Teaching here in the UK. I've written a few books and guides and bits and bobs on my blog. ICTevangelist.com has won a few awards over the years as well. I've won an award at the GES event in Dubai. It's a bit like BET and ISTE, but in Dubai. So I won an award there a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, as well as a sort of best response to the pandemic sort of thing. I'm also a parent governor. I'm really pleased to be involved in helping and supporting my children's school as well. I'm a parent, which I think is also something worthwhile sharing. And so I've got those perspectives there. I now work in a business that I started myself in 2015. And that seems to be doing all sorts of stuff really, which sometimes is training people in how to use software effectively. Sometimes that's supporting schools with their digital strategy. And sometimes that's speaking at events, giving keynotes and that sort of thing. Sometimes it's like we're here right now at MoteCon as well. I run my own business, ICT Evangelist, as you probably heard a second ago from Rick. But I'm also working part-time. I started this in 2021 as the head of education at Net Support, a company that produces software for helping use technology purposefully in the classroom. And I might dive into a little bit about that and some of our products later on and how they tie into Mote as well. I also run another business called Global Ed Tech. If you are thinking about wanting to share about Mote and how brilliant it is and want a platform upon which to do that, and if you're already blogging on your own blog as well, you can also write for us over at global-edtech.com. It's a site where we try and bring people from Google and Apple and Microsoft together, because sometimes they often sit in sort of separate silos. Bring people together so we can share about what works in the classroom, because you often find what works in a Google environment will also kind of work in an Apple and a Microsoft environment as well. It's all about how we think about how we use technologies. That's global-edtech.com. If you want to come over and check that out, I'd be delighted. I'm also an independent thinking associate, and that's all you got to hear about from me. When I was asked to share, my friend Eleni Kritsis, another Mote ambassador, asked me to be involved in MoteCon. I shared this quote with her from John Hattie from his seminal work, Visible Learning for Teachers. Obviously, there's been lots of visible learning bits and bobs over the years from John Hattie and his team. But this has stuck with me since I first read it. It really, really resonated with me. And I think we can all sort of, relate to what he's sharing there about feedback being just for me, just in time, just where I am in my learning journey or learning process and what I need to move me forwards. I remember, when I was a student myself, those teachers who gave me feedback in a timely fashion, while I was still engaged in thinking about the work I'd handed in, I was keen to find out how I did. I wanted to know if the work and the hard yards I'd put into my projects, my designs, my essays, my music productions, Rick, whatever it was that I had done. I wanted to find out quickly. And some teachers did that quickly, and sometimes they didn't do it so quickly. And I found myself sort of waning in my interest. I think that ties in quite nicely. I think we've all probably had experiences like that. Now, I get it. Teacher workload is huge, and feedback should be used for helping students. Wherever we are in the world, there are people who are interested in how we perform as teachers, aren't there? We should be delivering feedback for the recipients. Dylan Willem talks about feedback should be more work for the recipient than the donor, and certainly Mote helps with that in its efficacy when it comes to leaving that verbal feedback. But a lot of what we'll be sharing about tonight is sort of tied into this quote here from John Hattie, where it should be just for me, just in time, just where I'm on my learning process, and just what I need to move me forwards. And I'm going to share some more things related to that, about how we can actually deliver that feedback so that it is impactful, so that it is helpful, and can be done in timely fashions, obviously using Mote if possible. So let's just unpick what feedback is, going back a step for a second. So we all or should be aware as educators about the idea of the feedback loop. A student will come along and we'll set them some work. They will submit it to us, whether that's in Google Classroom or Teams or Shobi or whatever it is that we choose to use for our sort of workflow for submitting work and setting work and all those sort of things. They'll give it over to us as their teacher, and then we will give them some feedback. Obviously, like I said with that Dylan Willem quote, it should be more work for the recipient than the donor when they receive that feedback. But we do this in regular and specific improvement points, and we use that to try and close the learning gap. So we can find out where misconceptions are, where there are gaps in learning, those sort of things, so that learning can be informed, and so that we can adapt our teaching based upon student responses, so that we can be responsive to what our learners need. And sometimes that feedback can be on work that's submitted. Sometimes it might be from some low stakes quizzing we might have done in the classroom. So for example, a great tool that I love to use for quizzing in the classroom is a great tool called Quizzes. And in platforms such as Quizzes and others, could be you're using Google Forms, Microsoft Forms, whatever it is. But as we get the feedback in from our students, from their answers in the work they're doing, could be Edpuzzle, could be any one of these sorts of tools where we quiz our students, so we are able to unpick where students are falling down, aren't quite understanding things, and where there might be some misconceptions and some things that we need to sort of drill down in on. Now, one of the great things about technology is that it can be used in really quick and effective ways, and Mote is a great tool for doing that. So when you're thinking about giving that feedback, if you've got a group of students that you want to give like feedback with, sure, try and make it personalised and just for me. But if you're trying to reduce your workload, if you've got 10 students that you all know have struggled with a particular area, well, don't record feedback for all 10 of them. That would be nice, but why not just record one bit of feedback and send that link that you can get, the share link you get in Mote, and just share that one link with all those students. It's about how you actually sort of think about those things, and like, when you're trying to think in sort of slightly more smart ways, you can help yourself so that you can reduce some of your workload. So when you're giving feedback, it should be timely, it should be constructive, be specific, actionable, and be reasonable. I loved Rick's presentation a few moments ago where he was talking about accessibility, and that quote I shared in my question about feedback and accessibility tools, about accessibility tools being essential for some and useful for all, or feedback can tie into that as well. So thinking carefully about what your learners are able to do, where they are on their learning journey, what they're capable of producing, what they're capable of doing. We all know that from our work with them in our classes over the course of the academic year in which we work with them. So there's some basic advice around feedback. That's great, but what about when it comes to young people? Because when we have, jumping back and thinking about John Hattie, one of the things a lot of people know about John Hattie is that he's done so much analysis of research about what works when it comes to teaching and learning in the classroom. And one thing that we know that works is metacognition. So when learners are thinking about their learning, when learners know how best for them to learn, when they engage in conversation, and I'll dive into that in a bit more depth in a few minutes, when they talk about their learning, when they talk about their work, when they have to defend what there is they're making, when they have to also think about other people's work and critique that and leave feedback for others, how can they go about doing that? So if John Hattie can inform what we're doing, making sure that our feedback is just in time, just for me, just what I need to help me move me forward in my learning process, so forth and so on, then what about what can we use to frame excuse me, that feedback with our young people? Someone whose work I really rate and respect is a guy called Ron Berger. If you haven't read his book, An Ethic of Excellence, I would strongly recommend you have a read of it. Many of you, I suspect, will have seen Austin's Butterfly and the power of useful, helpful, he calls it critique, I call it feedback, potato for me, but some people might think critique is slightly different to feedback, and we can have a conversation off air if you wanted to do that. But with Austin's Butterfly, by giving the, and if you haven't seen it, Austin's Butterfly is a video where a student called Austin was asked to create a butterfly. And through the process of 6 or 7 iterations of creating this different image of a butterfly, so from the starting point of it not being a great design or great image of a butterfly, by the end, Austin had made this absolutely brilliant butterfly. Now, this was all hanging off the back of the idea that feedback that was kind, specific, and helpful. So peer feedback is a great tool, a great thing to do in the classroom, but young people in our classrooms, they're not us. They haven't been to university, they haven't spent time learning and training how to be a teacher, how to deliver feedback. They don't understand about the feedback loop. John Hattie won't be in their frame of reference, all these different things. And one of the reasons why I love Berger's ideas here is because they're so simple to remember, simple to implement, and simple to embed inside the classroom. And so it could be that you share something like this. And this is one of the things that I absolutely love, and Rick demonstrated it so beautifully during the last presentation. It's so easy to leave feedback in Mote. This isn't one I'm going to share with you. I have got a sort of audience participation session in just a moment, so get your keyboards and microphones ready for that, and when I share it with you in a moment. But it's so simple to leave feedback. We just click onto the Mote icon just here. I prefer this one because, and all the designs are really, really quite amazing, but I prefer this one because it has the person sort of facing, so you can see their face, you can see that they're wearing headphones, the look on their face looks good, they look intent on their feedback, and it's nice to see that other students are receiving feedback at the same time. You might like to consider, however, changing some of the colours. You might like to consider making it so that there are some icons around the outside. And I like auto-magically as well, Rick, because it is the perfect word. But it's so easy to drop your feedback in. And the point I was making really was, in trying to give that feedback then, I tried to be kind, I tried to be specific, and I tried to be helpful. Okay, and great easy way of doing this. And if you're doing peer feedback, I was talking about this image here, giving peer feedback in a sharing presentation such as this is super easy. And so now it's your turn to try. If you could open up a new tab, I've got a nice easy one for you to use there. In fact, what I'll do is I will just drop across into the live stream, unless you can type that more quickly. I'll see if I can get into there. Hopefully there won't be any major feedback when I jump into here and pop it in the chat. Good, because the sound is still off. There we go. There's a bit of a delay, so that should go in quite easy. I'll close that down as well there so we don't do that. And what you'll see when you go into there, I'm just going to open up another tab a second, so I'll stop sharing that one and I'll jump into a different presentation. What I'm asking you to do is to give me some feedback on how I can improve my prompt to get a better design. And as Mote users, I'm sure you'll have Mote installed in Google Slides, so I'd love for you to drop me some feedback in there on how I can improve that prompt to get a better design. Now, I'll talk for a few moments while you're doing all of that, but it's such a simple way of doing it, but the key is making sure on a metacognitive level that your students understand why they should be giving feedback which is kind, why they should be giving feedback which is specific, and why they should be giving feedback which is helpful. Kind, because we want to keep the person on side when we're actually wanting them to be the recipient of some feedback. You don't want to go, oh, that's rubbish, yeah, it's just no good, there's no point in doing it. You just start, no. Kind feedback brings the person receiving that feedback on board straight away. Specific, so you're saying exactly what it is that needs to be worked on, and helpful so that the young person is able to then deliver that and respond to the feedback that they have received. So those are the key points really around how we deliver that, and brilliant stuff there. Thank you very much. I'm not quite sure who's left that feedback there. Popping it on the right hand side for me. Thank you very much. I'll see if they might have left
It was
their
me.
name on there. Let's have a little
I
listen.
did it.
Is that yours, is it, Rick?
Yeah, that was me.
Brilliant stuff. So very quickly, we're getting some feedback dropping in on there on that. So feedback using Mote doesn't have to be feedback from just you as a teacher. I strongly support the idea of using Mote with young people so that they can leave their feedback as well. And for many, that can be much more accessible. And it's a really great way of doing it. trying to get 30 learners all leaving some typed feedback on a screen can lead to some quite interesting engagements on your slide. And maybe some of you have got some stories to tell about students diving into slides and moving things around and so forth and so on. But say, using Mote as a tool for peer feedback is a great way to do it, and Google Slides is a great platform, and the integration there is super helpful. Obviously, you can use the share URL from Mote in other platforms, and this idea can be adjusted for other ecosystems where some voice options may already be available. The key is making sure, as I say, if you really want to make the feedback powerful, make sure that it's kind, specific and helpful, whilst also, hopefully, because you'll be doing this in class with your learners, timely, just in time, just for that particular person, just what they need to help them with their learning journey, so forth and so on. So I was going to stop sharing that one now. Thank you for the audience participation. Please feel free to carry on popping your feedback in there if you want to. You're very welcome to. And I may well find people who've watched the broadcast back afterwards actually have gone through and popped some more things in there at a later date as well. I'll leave that one open for the time being. So I'm going to go back to my presentation, main presentation, and share my screen again. I can see I'm not doing too bad for time, so that's a good place to be. So jumping back into this idea of feedback, as I said, feedback should be kind, helpful and specific, and I strongly suggest that you explicitly teach your young people about feedback and critique and why it's important that it is kind and helpful and specific. You'll get more out of them and find that the feedback they give will be far more useful if they have their feedback framed around that very simple hook around kind, specific and helpful. Now, what about self-assessments? Because sometimes the feedback is actually really useful coming back from yourself, because being a reflective learner, I've been a reflective teacher, I have to reflect on my practice. I'm sure you've had to reflect on your practice over the years as well. Self-assessments can be done really well through using your voice. Actually, how to say these things out loud can be really useful. And research has shown that it can help students identify and understand their own strengths and weaknesses, and to verbalise these things. They have to say them out loud, they have to frame their thinking around it, and if they're using a tool such as Mote to actually give feedback on their own work, they may then even have to sort of pass on to you as their teacher, may even have to pass on to a peer within the classroom setting. It's been shown to really help them actually then reflect and go back and improve and develop their work even further. It can also help students to learn from each other. If they talk about their work with each other, they can share their own ideas and perspectives. So it doesn't have to be done digitally, it could be done analog. Actually talking to your peer next to you. I'm just going to grab my peer. Recognise this guy? I don't know if you can see him with the... so we have some conversation about the work and have a bit of repartee backwards and forwards. That can be really useful and help improve learning that way as well. It also helps students develop a deeper understanding of the material, because actually being able to explain things and talk about what it is they're doing might actually make them go, oh no, I forgot that bit. Oh yeah. So when they talk about their work, they're forced to explain their thinking, what it was that was behind everything when they started to work on that particular piece of work. And it can also help them develop their critical thinking skills. So they have to defend their arguments, either to their peers, sort of sat next to them, or when they're recording themselves thinking about their work on their actual work. But that reflection is the key part of it. And it can also, researchers found, to help students become more engaged in their learning as well. So whilst not specifically about technology, actually thinking about the ways in which we can reflect on our work, how we can reflect on other people's work, how we can share about that, how we can critique it, utilising technology to help and support us, which goes back to the ideas of TPAC. You know, good use of technology is about knowing when to or not to use technology, and so being able to bring something in like Mote to support that right at the heart of those things and the core of those things, knowing when it's a good tool to use can be only a good thing in my estimation. I did say I would mention a few things about net supports, because for me, keeping students on track when using technology in the classroom is super important. And if you're going to be engaging in some of the activities that I've been talking about, leaving feedback on other people's work and so forth and so on, one of our products over at NetSupport, Classroom.cloud, has got a great Mote integration. So if you are running Classroom Cloud on our toolbar, regardless of what you're actually working in, whether it's something in a browser or whether it's something on a device other than the Chromebook, the Classroom Cloud toolbar has Mote integrated directly into there, so you can quickly get into Mote, pick up feedback, leave leave a recording, and whatever it is that you need to know. Classroom Cloud is a classroom management solution where, as teachers, you can see everything that's on every student's device as they're sort of working their way through. You can lock their screen to get their attention straight back onto you, unlock them, message every student, message just the one or a group, or so forth and so on. Give rewards, so forth and so on. Lots of things that you can do inside there. And it's got safeguarding built into it in the background as well. So it tracks everything the children type. So if there's any sort of safeguarding issues or worries, then you as teacher or safeguarding lead can quickly see those things, and has a nice word cloud which shows you sort of the key issues that students are typing about inside your classroom as well. So I hope you don't mind me mentioning that. If you want more from me, well, I've timed it pretty well, so there should be enough time for a few quick questions at the end. But I've got a book coming out about teaching and learning with technology. I'm writing it with a friend of mine who's a deputy head at a school in Abu Dhabi called Ollie Lewis. The EdTech Handbook is coming out soon, hopefully by the end of the year, on John Catt Educational. But for me, for now, that's all, folks. I hope you found those ideas useful and helpful. And please, could you make your feedback for me kind and specific and helpful if you've got some feedback for me after the session. Thanks so much, and really appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you today. Thanks a lot.
That was super great. Thank you.
Cheers, Rick.
So, how many books have you written at this point?
I've written 4 books. I've got a bunch of guides out there. I've got more than 500 blogs on my blog. I write with my NetSupport hat on. I write quite a lot of NetSupport as well. If you're looking for some help and support with digital strategy, by the way, we wrote a guide to creating digital strategy in education. It's a sort of 60-page document with case studies from around the world, that sort of thing. But it's completely free. If you go to schooldigitalstrategy.com, you can download that guide completely for free. And what's great about it, Rick, is that it's A, schools from all over the world, but B, it's multi-ecosystem. So if you're a Google school, there's stuff for you there. If you're a Microsoft school, there's stuff for you there. If you're an iPad school, there's stuff for you there as well. So yeah, I've written a bit.
Right on. That's so cool. Well, thank you for everything you shared today. I was reminded to mention to everybody, you will get a certificate. There is a QR code that we'll be showing at the end. And we'll be back in just a bit with Tiffany. Thanks, everybody. Not that you could hear me, my mic was muted. But hey, we're going to stay on the Mote train. This is going to be great. The next one up, we have Tiffany Castillo. Then I hope I said that right. Step on the Mote train. I knew it was something like that. Anyway, we're going to bring out Tiffany. And when I asked how should I introduce you, and she said nothing fancy. I have a introduction in part of my presentation, so I'm going to bring her up and let's have a chat. Hey, Tiffany.
Hello.
How's it going?
No, I think I'm.
I can't tell if I'm frozen or you are. I look fine, but that's on my screen, so I can't tell what's going on. Oh, it's a little delayed on your end. Are you there now? I see you moving.
Hi.
Cool.
I'm here, but I don't know if you are hearing me in real time.
I am now.
Okay.
Cool.
Hello. How you doing, Rick? Great.
Having a blast. When I signed up to help out with MoteCon, I was like, oh, I don't want to go last because I have a lot to live up to. But thankfully, you're here, so now you fix it. So
that's all right. I can do that.
Awesome. If you want to present your screen, or do you have slides, or how would you like to do this?
I do. I will share my screen.
Excellent. While you're doing that, I want to real quick remind everybody that at the end of each thingamajig that we do, there's like a little screen with me on the side smiling like this. And then under me is a QR code that you can scan to get your certificates. And I see your screen is right here to add to the stream. I'm going to add it. And I can see it. Can you see it, Tiffany? Cool. Well, I'm going to let you take it away. And yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Rick. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here with you at MoteCon for this second year in a row. I am Tiffany Castillo, and this is the Administrator's Guide. If I can click forward on my slides, we'll see what happens here. Technology is our best friend and our worst enemy at the same time, isn't it? All right, we've gone a little too far. Back one. All right, so this is the Administrator's Guide, how to leverage Mote to increase productivity, positivity, and performance in your school. And so if you have seen me here before, when I last spoke at MoteCon, I was serving as an instructional technology specialist. And somewhere in the middle of the school year last year, I got a little promotion and I became an assistant principal at a high school here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I found out very quickly that the admin life is not for the faint of heart. So this is me before I started as an assistant principal. Super smiling, happy and excited for what was to come. I had no idea what my days were going to be like, but I knew that I wanted to show up each and every day for kids and give them all that I had. Well, I did that on the first day, and this is me after the first day. Yep, that's me on my floor. If you follow me on Twitter, don't call my principal and tell her that I showed you me passed out after working hard at work. So I found out really quickly that the administrator life is busy. There are lots and lots of moving parts, and it's basically keeping a million balls in the air at the same time. But after a few trial and errors, I figured out some ways, some tips and some tricks that help me keep everything balanced. And so I'm here to share with you The Administrator's Guide. So first things first, I figured out for me, one way that I could keep everything rolling was to know what I had going on. Because an administrator is responsible for so many different moving pieces, it was really important for me to find an organized way to keep everything together. And thus, the digital planner was born. I'm going to show you a quick peek at my digital planner. I built this in Google Docs, use a page list layout, and it's basically my safe space where I keep all of my tasks, activities, meetings, notes, things I need to go back and take care of all in one place. It's my own personal hub. And so here you can see I have little drop downs for where the task is in completion status. And then I have notes each day if I have a meeting and need to capture a quick thing, a few quick notes, or if someone says something to me and I need to remember it. And I'll give you a view of what my actual planner looks like for this week. So this is my actual planner from this week. As you can see, I had a little things to do in 1 week. And sometimes it's hard to get it all done. But what I love to do is set a goal for myself for how much I'm going to complete that week. This week, my goal was 75%. I think I did a pretty good job. You can see here that I took some notes down at the bottom, that I have some tasks that I need to carry over that I might not have finished, some phone calls that I'll need to return. And usually on Sundays, I take a moment to reflect on my week and to talk about any major accomplishments that I had during the week. This week was our very first home football game, and we had a huge pep rally, and it was a great success. That's my major accomplishment for the week. I can't wait to write it down in my planner. But you might be wondering, well, Tiffany, where does Mote fit into all of this? I mean, so like I said, my life as an administrator is super busy, and I've got a lot of things going on at once. One of the ways that I like to use Mote, because it's built into my Chrome browser, and if you've seen me in the hallway, you see me pushing my little cart with my computer always open, always ready to go. My digital planner here is a tab that I keep open all the time, which means I always have Chrome open, which means I'm always ready to access Mote. So one of the things I can do is click my Mote Chrome extension and make a voice recording of quick things that people tell me that I need to do right in the moment. So I never have to lose track of any of the millions of things that people say to me. Okay, millions might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but hundreds definitely. Things that people say to me throughout the day that I need to keep up with. And because using my Mote Chrome extension, that means that everything that I've recorded is saved into my own Mote profile so that I can go back to it. Of course, you know, that means that I can also hyperlink it into the planner if I need to access it directly from the planner. And I'll show you what that looks like in real time in just a few minutes. So, as you can see here, some of my tasks are complete and some of them are in progress and some of them are awaiting input from others and some of them might have been canceled. You can create your own drop downs in Google Docs. So one of the things that I was just speaking about is making sure that I am keeping up with all of the different things that go on throughout the day. And so for me, I had to deliver some safety badges so that all of our teachers are able to let administrator know if there's some sort of risk to safety in our building. Of course, we know safety and security is at the forefront of everyone's minds working in schools these days. And I happened to miss a couple of teachers because they were either absent that day or I just happened to miss their planning period. Here's a place where I can leave myself a Mote reminder of which teachers I'll need to go back and visit. So let's try that now. I will open my Mote app, my Mote Chrome extension, pardon me, and I'll record my Mote. I won't record right now, but I just want you to see how it works in real time. And so if I were using a Mote that I had already recorded, I could share the link and highlight my text. I'll use some keyboard shortcuts, Command K and Command V and enter. And there we go. I've tagged my task with my voice Mote to follow back up with those teachers that I might have missed. And that way I'll know exactly who I need to go back to. So that's one way that I learned to keep things balanced as an administrator, by making myself a planner so I can see everything I've got to do and everything I need to keep up with. But here's another part of my job. One of the biggest parts of my job is supporting teachers so that they can support students. And that brings us to step 2 of the Administrator's Guide. Visiting teachers in their classrooms, conducting classroom observations, and leaving valuable feedback to observations and lesson plans is one way that I help teachers and support them with improving their instruction. I used to leave feedback like this. Yes, it's an adorable template that allows me to type everything that I needed to say to a teacher right there in the moment in Canva, and I can just copy and paste it into an email or something like that. But one thing I learned really quickly is not everybody loves to receive written feedback. One thing about feedback is sometimes tone can seem a little bit off, which is why Mote is super helpful for helping me leave feedback for teachers that will be received exactly the way I meant it. So we see this cute template for leaving fast feedback, but let's make it a little bit better. So with this reimagined template, I've created something short and sweet that I can record exactly what I want to say to a teacher in the voice that I want them to hear it in, which lets them know that, yes, I did enjoy your classroom. And yes, I do have some notices and some wondering, but it's not punitive. Giving teachers feedback that they can receive helps to change the culture in your building between admin and teachers so that they know that we're here for support and not for punitive measures. If you would like to use that template, at the end of this, I'm going to give you a link for this slide deck. And every time you see this cutie pie little Mote logo in one of these squares, it is hyperlinked to download the thing that I talked about. So in step 1, course, I'm going to give you access to the digital planner to download and make it your own. And for step 2, you'll get a Canva link to download the fast feedback template with this color coordinated megaphone. So you can hyperlink your Mote and record feedback for teachers. And then step 3. While I love being an administrator and I love supporting teachers, one of the things that I don't really like to deal with is student discipline. Things happen. Kids make poor choices, but it's a part of my job to deal with behavior referrals, right? And like I said, I'm ripping and running all day long. And usually when I'm about to step into collaborative planning is exactly when students decide to make poor choices. But I can't miss collaborative planning because I have to deal with a behavior referral. Well, Mote's here to help me do that. So one of the things, like I said, I'm always pushing that cart. my computer's always open and Chrome is always ready to go. So I can use Chrome to record the details of a behavior referral so that I can keep moving. That allows me to move that student to another location where they can be separated from wherever the incident took place. But I have teachers in collaborative planning. But one other thing, when I record in Mote, it also provides me a transcription. If I record the details of the behavior referral in Mote, I can use that transcription later on to copy and paste the text directly into our student information system. We use Infinite Campus in my district to create that behavior referral and have all of the actual details of the event and not me trying to recall what happened 6 hours later at the end of the day after the student is long gone and the teacher is on her way home and I'm stuck trying to figure out, what really happened? Thanks to Mote, I can record in that moment, get that transcription, and paste it right into the behavior referral and have an accurate depiction of the events. And that way, the parent has a better understanding of what happened with their student, and the teacher feels confident that we were able to support them in their classroom with management. And now, like I said, sometimes those things don't happen right in the moment. And so here you can see that I use my planner to mark places where I have unwritten referrals. And right down here in the bottom, I have written the initials of the student and I've hyperlinked that Mote that I recorded about the behavior incident. Referral, I have that transcription available, ready to copy and paste. And so with all of these tips and tricks, and thanks to the help of Mote, this is me now. This is me striking a pose in the hallway. You can see me with my cart, ready to roll. I'm even wearing high heels because I feel so confident that I can do my job and keep everything balanced throughout the day. And so now what I promised you was a way to download this slideshow so you can share it with your staff or just get access to the things that I shared. This link down here at the bottom, which is bit.ly/addmoteguide, will take you directly to this slideshow to make a copy of it for yourself. And once again, if you click on the Mote icon in the step 1 square and the step 2 square, you can download my digital planner and the Canva template link to leave feedback for teachers. And so I think that leaves us enough time for questions because I wanted to leave some time to help with setup of a digital planner if that's something anyone was interested in. Let me swap over so I can see the comment.
Let me unmute myself. I would love to see how that works. You were saying you would show how you set it up, right?
Sure.
Cool.
So
Cool.
what
Nice.
I did was built a table, right? And so when you build, let's start fresh. What I usually do, so of course, I had to make you guys a copy of my digital planner that I could show with no actual student information on it because privacy matters. When I build my own planner, this is always my heading. The in is my heading. And so to build this, I put the upcoming week at the top, and it will build my table of contents here on the side so that I can go back week by week. And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy last week's date. And we are going to paste them here. And change them next week, which is the 21st through the 25th. And now, usually I'll just copy and paste, but because we want to see how it works, we are going to, I think we're good. Yeah, we are. There we go. We're going to press enter a couple of times. And so I'm going to insert a table. And because I know that I want the 5 days of the week plus a column for the status, I'm going to do 10. We're going to go 10 columns, and let's give ourselves 5 rows. And so we have Monday, and we'll go over to the next, and we'll type in our status. And here, what we're going to do in the status column, we're going to press insert, drop down. And so once we insert our drop down, Google gives us a few options, status and project status, which can be useful. If you want to start out with how they set for you, and then you can just go back and edit the action. And so once I have inserted one of the templated options, I'm going to go edit options and change blocked to cancel, because blocked is not really necessary in my setting. And there we go. We've got some options for us to choose from for our new dropdown, as well as the option to add additional dropdowns. Now, for me, it's super important to have these at the top, the weekly motivation, the goals for the week. So now that I know I've got enough dates in there, I can a status column a little bit more narrow, because I don't quite need it that wide. And I'm going to highlight. Just this one. Give me a second, guys. My clicks are a little behind me.
It looks good on our end, though.
Okay. All right. I want to select this and copy it if it will allow me to select. Let's see if we do it that way. There we go. Nope. Technology is being so cruel to me right now. Let's try it another way. Let's try paint format. Start here. And then paste it there. No, that didn't work either. I promise you there is a way that you can copy the thing, the drop down from this cell and paste it to the others. So because it's giving me so much trouble, I'll move on to adding some rows above this one. And so for me, I just go ahead and insert a row. And then I make it a little bit bigger because I know I'm going to use more than just 1 or 2 lines. So for the sections for weekly motivation, I don't need 3 different columns. And so what I did there was select those 3 columns and merge the cells. So it gives me one large box.
Nice.
And you can design that however you'd like.
Cool. Well, I'm going to stop you there because this is super duper. I love it. And I got to say, as a teacher, getting the kind of feedback that you were talking about giving, not written, but actually spoken, I would love that. In fact, Aaron threw that in the chat earlier too. But yeah, these are all fantastic ways of, and I will say I've dealt with the same issue. There's something that happens in the hall. I don't have time to do it because I have something coming. So I'll send my administrator a Mote as well, just through Gmail. Like, hey, here's the specifics. Check the cameras, but here's what happened is they left my class.
Oh, that would be perfect for me.
Yep. Go with God. Good luck with that. I've got a class to teach. So yeah, that's super cool. Thank you very much for all this stuff.
Thanks.
And I threw the link. So it should be clickable for anyone who watches this back. I think I'm pointing the wrong way. It'll be over there. You should be able to click the guide that you gave out, and people can make their own copy and work from there. That's super cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
And we're going to keep right on rolling. There's going to be a thing that we pop up here in a moment that has a super cool QR code. You've got about 2.5 minutes before we bring on Dr. Moody. So go grab a drink and get right back here. Because again, there are thousands of you watching. So let's do it. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to keep the Mote train rolling. We've got a couple more presenters for MoteCon 2023. And this next person I'm super excited to bring up because he is representing literally all of higher ed, because everyone else has been K-12 or whatever. But right now we're going to bring up Dr. Moody. Dr. Robert Moody is a professor at Fort Hays State University in the Advanced Education Programs Department. This fall will begin his 18th year of teaching 100% online. He is Mote certified as a Mote certified educator as of July 11th, 2021. He's the coordinator of the Building/District Educational Leadership Program and serves on the department's director of Open Education Resource R&D. He's a Google Champion for Education trainer. That's the new term, Google Champion. Since 2013, he's also an ISTE certified educator, which is no joke. That's serious stuff. ISTE certified educator since 2018. He's presented on Google Workspace to more than 150 school districts in Kansas since 2012. So without further ado, let's bring up Dr. Robert Moody.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hey.
Very excited. It's good to see you again, Rick. We've done some stuff together.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm going to say they didn't save the best for last. So everybody relax. I'm going to tell a story is what I'm going to do about a journey that led me to Mote. And being an innovator, we often just go out and find things that'll do a better job when we get frustrated ourselves. And so that's what we're going to do. We'll probably end up with some extra time for questions. I know that we're running a little long, so if I give up some of my time, then we might end on time. So, okay. First of all, I have to tell you about the picture that's on the screen. That shirt was going to Goodwill in 2011, and we just started doing Google. And I looked at it, and I was looking at the colors, and I went, oh my gosh, that's all the colors of Google. And so from 2012 to about 2020, when we were really actively doing Google training in Kansas, that shirt took on its own personality. I would go places and they would go, you're the guy with that shirt. And so I just thought I'd share that. I started wearing that when I was teaching 7th grade language arts back in 95. I've been in education a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the title of my presentation is a little bit where you understand there's some frustration. Students in higher ed, they're a lot like students in K-12 schools. The things that you talk about in the hallway with your students, we talk about at faculty meetings. There's not a lot of difference. And sometimes we scratch our head because there's not a lot of difference. But that's a whole nother presentation for another time. What I have found with Mote, it allows me to bring in my personality, which is really difficult to do in black and white text. It's very difficult to respond to a heartfelt email from someone and you have to think about it. And I'm the world's worst typer. Good thing I have some products that correct my typing. Sometimes they miss some of the stuff and I don't go back and proofread it. And that's another reason why I love Mote, because it picks up what I say, and what I say comes from the heart. We'll get into that as well. All right, so you're getting a little bit of what I'm like: projecting tone, inflection, excitement, and disappointment. And all of that can be picked up by Mote. Okay, so there's basically 5 modes of communication. Spatial, that's where you have physical conditions, you have body movement, you have proximity, how close you are. You know, if COVID comes back, we're back to our 6 feet of distancing. I hope not. My mom used to say that, can you talk without using your hands? You know, so gestural. No, I cannot put my hands in my pocket. I've tried, and it just seems to restrict everything that I'm wanting to say because I'm thinking about my hands in the pocket. It drives me crazy. All right, so now we're also talking about linguistic or alphabetic, written. And, you know, we still write today, and we've been writing for a long time. Back in the day, we used a hammer and a chisel. And then we also have the spoken communication, which still takes place at the water cooler in the hallway. at the grocery store, at church. We're real good about using visual representation, especially everybody loves to use a Canva infographic or any other products that make those sorts of things. We like videos. And then oral is sound. Can we hear? Well, the new Mote, you definitely can hear, which is important. And we like to play music in the background in our own classes. I do that online when we have a Google Meet. I will sign in to Google Meet 5 minutes before the official start time, and I'll have music on. And I've had so many good comments because it really, not that it's going to be a hostile meeting, but it just relaxes everybody, which is something I did as a language arts teacher. My students came in and music was on. It really does soothe the savage beast. All right, so online, and I've taught for 17 years online. I did have, I said 100%. I did teach one on-campus class, Foundations, but I also taught it online. And I found that it was very confusing and hard for me not to use the same terminology from one format on campus to the other format online. So I just started to use all online terminology, and I treated both class as if they were online, with the exception of I got kids to show up every Tuesday and Thursday when we had class. Now, the issues we have with the 5 modes of communication, spatial. You can't see how far I am from you. You can't see me hold my arms out, saying you need a hug or I want a hug. You can't see me high-fiving. All of that is just a mystery. You're blind to that. And the same thing, you would have no idea that I talk with my hands. And I just clasp it. And I'm like, why am I clasping my hands? Because that's not me. I would love for someone to analyze my movements and see if they mean anything. I don't think so, except for the ones that really explode when I'm excited about something or trying to make a point. Okay, so these are all acceptable. These are things that I used before Mote, and I still use these things. We're still got the linguistic and the alphabet. Written communication, that hadn't gone away. Well, we've got mail. Remember snail mail? We still get things in the mailbox. Most of them are advertisements for Medicare. I turn 65 next year, so we get inundated all the time. Email, we still use that. Not my favorite mode of communication. Text, I'm still not a texter, but my wife refuses to just call me. She'll text me. She'll Facebook message me. She'll messenger me. And I'm like, honey, where did you send that information? You got 3 or 4 different things you use. And I would have never expected her to be that crazy with technology. Social media. We now have X, which is an interesting name for the former Twitter. Kind of reminds me of Prince when he had that weird symbol. Have no idea what that meant, but we all knew that meant Prince. We still use our cell phones. In fact, I'm using mine to help me keep track of time. I can get long-winded. I love to talk. Video conferencing. You might be a fan of Zoom. Boo, boo. I'm a Google certified trainer, and I just use everything Google has. So I love Google Meets. And that's where I was telling you a while ago that I would play 5 minutes of music before the meet started. It's just a cool thing to do. And again, things that we can use that have audio. Of course, you got YouTube and a host of other video sources. Again, your cell phone, you can get audio from that. And a real big music company that I have started following is Spotify. And there's no, I can skip as many as I want, and there's no penalty, unlike Pandora or Amazon. And I pay for Amazon, and I still get skips, and they make me wait. Spotify, I absolutely love. They also want me, I think they're teasing me. I think they're going to eventually shut it off. I don't know, because they keep sending me messages. Why don't you sign up? Why don't you sign up? Okay. So in referring to graduate students, and, I've already laid out the premise that some of my grad students are very similar to some of your K-12 students. And I won't go into any details. Use your imagination. The interesting thing is when you look at the age difference, when you compare what we're talking about, and I've got people that I see, have seen since 2006, anywhere ranging from 20, I think has been my youngest, up to 82. So it's been an interesting mix of people, been a fun mix. Okay, so this is not unreasonable, that it's reasonable that my grad students expect to get quality feedback and in a timely manner. And sometimes they don't care why you don't do it. They just know that they're not getting what they're paying for. And that makes a lot of difference between my guys and K-12 students. Compulsory education is free. We're paying tuition. $318 a credit hour, I think, is what we're paying, asking our students to pay at Fort Hays. Well, in the process of trying to do a better job, I've upped my game in email. In fact, I even now use Gmail, and I have templates because you get the same questions all the time at the beginning of the semester, and I just fire it off. And the biggest thing I tell my people, quit using your personal email because everything we do is in Google, and you won't have access to it unless you're using your Fort Hays student Gmail account. So I got a template that fires that off. I got a template that says, welcome to the program, and it tells them everything to do. Also, along the way, when Google started listening more to its users, I've got a comment bank. I haven't used it in a while because of Mote, but it's still there. I don't know that I'll ever go back. As long as Mote continues to do what they're doing and improving upon the product that they have, there's no need. So when my grad students get upset, they skip me. And they go right to the chair and they say, hey, will you do something about this instructor? And I've had 2 instances where they skipped the chair, they skipped the dean, and they called the president twice. I guess that's not bad in a 17-year career. Embarrassing as all get out. And had to deal with it and had to, take my lumps. Partially responsible for the anger. That's just the nature of the beast. We can't always make everybody happy and do everything we say we're going to do because sometimes we get busy and things happen. It still is upsetting, especially when they screen capture. They don't necessarily agree with feedback that I've given them, and they make a copy of it and they run and they send it to the chair and say, what are you going to do about this? Now, as a former superintendent and a principal and a classroom teacher, I had parents doing that to me. But this is in the 90s. We didn't have email then. It would be based on a phone call or something that I wrote on a child's paper, and that would be the evidence they would use. And it would be in my handwriting. What's happening now is when it appears on social media. And there are far too many groups that start these Facebook gripe sessions, and they just explode, and it just grows and grows, and it festers and it festers. Reminds me like a pimple. And when that sucker pops, it hurts. And what I mean by pops is where people really notice what's going on, and then you look like the bad guy. We have this thing called Rate My Professor, and people can be downright cruel. And so what I'm doing now with my students is I'm telling them, and I used a Mote with the 5 minutes in it because I sent it out by email. And I said, guys, please don't wait till the end of the semester to turn in all your complaints about me. Because guess what? I couldn't fix them along the way. I can only fix what I know about. And so that's had some positive results. It kills me. I'm shamelessly admitting that I have on my transcripts 21 hours of F. Yeah, I partied. I messed up. I even got kicked out of school for things that I didn't do. I just happened to be a party to the group that did it. And I'm the only one that got kicked out of school. I'm still scratching my head over that one. Probably the best thing that ever happened to me because it removed me from a group I shouldn't have been a part of. But it never fails. If I take off points, why? Why did you take off points? I've never had a B. I fully expect to get an A in this class. Do you hear the tone and the inflection? And they get irate. And I have copies of my transcript that has the F's on it. And I calm down. I have a PhD. And I have this to show. It reminds me of the movie Jaws when they're all drinking around the table in their little boat. Forget the name of it. And they're starting to pull up their shirts and pull down their pants and show their scars. Well, I got bit by a barracuda. I got bit by a tiger shark. Hammerhead chewed off my ear, whatever it was. And they're all proud. I am too, in a funny sort of way. That's my tiger. I should have said this during Shark Week. You know, that's my wound that I've overcome. Took a lot to overcome that. And I'm very happy to share that with my students. So I just say, calm down. Well, so I guess I was missing on my target because I really actually thought I was doing a good job. I was using lots of technology. I had rubrics. Granted, the rubrics weren't too detailed, but I was happy with them. And, you know, so they didn't tell me until I get my evaluations. And again, that's what I'm talking about. It's too, yeah, you can fix it for the next semester, but you don't have an opportunity to fix it for those kiddos. Now, what's funny, they'll burn you at the end of the semester when they do their evaluations. But all semester long, when you take off 2 points, can I redo it? Can I revise it? I want that 100 points. And first thing out of my mouth is, do you do that for your own students? Well, of course not. Well, there's your answer. They don't like that. So, like I said, I have gotten burned in my evaluations. And here's the funny thing. I remember when I was a teacher, there was this fear about merit-based pay. And you were hearing about it all over the country. I never really found anybody that had merit-based pay. Guess who has merit-based pay? It's not my contractual amount. It's my increase, which some people call cost of living. And as you know, what has happened to the cost of living lately? It's gone sky high. And so when my grad students give me really bad evaluations at the end of the course, and I haven't had a chance to work on it, it's not very good feedback. It's conclusive feedback. I can't grow during this semester. So there's been a few years where I didn't get a cost of living raise sometimes because of one person. Yeah, and we don't get a lot of people to evaluate us anyway. So if you have 5 people and one person burns you, forget it. You're not going to get any weighted value for that one person's comment. And there's not a thing we can do about it. That's where the formula is set up. Oops. Well, guess what? And I tried to remember how I found Mote. I'm thinking, because I live in Google extensions. As a Google trainer, I'm constantly checking those suckers out, especially back in the day when they weren't verifying and validating and running them through some kind of screen process. And there was a lot of bad extensions. We used them all. And then my school started saying, well, that hadn't been approved by the da-da-da-da-da. I said, we're going to back off of that one. But I'm pretty sure that's how I found Mote. And I'm like, there was another product, and the name of the product escapes me, where you could do some audio, no text, just audio. It was cumbersome. I didn't like it. And Mote comes along, and I'm like, Mote, what is, so I add it to Google Chrome, and it didn't work. So I sent an email And you'll see that my first Mote was some time ago, April 29th of 2020. I went to my email and also went into my Mote bank to see my history. And it wouldn't work on a document that was shared with me. It would work on a document that I created and gave someone access to. So I sent an email to this Will person. And I said, it's not working. He's like, what? And I said, no. And he said, well, will you share your document with me? Yeah. He fixed it, did something, and it worked a couple of days, and it happened again. And I'm about to pitch this because if it's not going to work on documents that are shared with me that I'm not the owner, it's going to be too much of a mess, too much chaos. I sent him another email. In fact, I sent him, I think, several emails. And the ironic thing, which I'm kind of skipping a slide here, is that's the first thing he said to me when he saw me at ISSE this year. We'll get into that in a minute. And then you see, I fell in love with Mote and become a certified educator in July of 2021. Okay, so what has happened since I've added Mote to my tool belt? I consider myself to be extremely innovative. I'm a risk taker. I'm the guy that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I've been that way all my life. I've only gotten in trouble a couple of times, been called on the carpet. But the rewards for being the first to do something and make it successful and sharing out with your peers is wonderful. Okay, so now my grads get audio and written text in their Google Docs, their slides, slideshows, and forms. That was another issue that I brought to Will's attention back in the day. The picking up the text, you couldn't shut it off. And I'm looking at it, and I'm from Oklahoma, and I don't know if you heard my accent because I've kind of hidden it, but we do a lot of but and yeah, and it would pick up all of that, and it would show up, and it would make it very hard to read through it. It wasn't that long ago I went in, and I guess I actually hit a button that turned the text back on, and it was, we have 5 minutes now. I believe it went from 30 to 90 seconds, I think, to 2 or 3 minutes, and then it went to 5. And when I talk to my students about something of importance, I'll use most of the 5 minutes. And of course, it spools and it takes a long time before you can send it. I clicked on it, and it was probably the cleanest. I wish my iPhone would pick up my text as well as it didn't put in words that I didn't say. It was really clean. I thought, good gosh, have they gotten really good at this product? And so one thing that in listening to what I've been hearing today, I don't know that I heard anybody talk about using Mote in their Gmail. I've got that sucker down there, and I click on it all the time, especially when I get a really long email, and I'll make a copy of my Google tab, put it on one screen. I've got it here, and then I hit Mote, record, and I'm reading the email, and I'm responding almost verbatim, because most of the time when I get something that long, I just copy it, paste it into a new email, and then spread it apart. That takes forever. Change the color of my font. You have to change the color of your font every time you switch a line to respond to their questions. So I'm just in there reading and expressing myself. And again, they can't see the movements, but they can hear the voice. And they can hear me questioning. They can hear me acknowledging. They can hear me supporting. They hear all of that. Comes to me very naturally. Okay. Oh boy, I'm not using my time up. I'm gonna shut that off. They get to hear my person. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. Okay. We connect better. They feel like they know me better. They can hear me. They can hear my sincerity. They don't know when I'm pretending, because sometimes I pretend to be really mad when I'm just like, I'm going to cut this person a break. But I want them to get a sense for how maybe I do feel. I can express anger, exhaustion. Oh, I can go, I don't know what you're doing. I can go, oh man, I just don't get it. I can also let them hear authentic. You can only imagine how many times I hear about a suicide, a death, a car wreck, a family whose house is burnt down. And of course, I can relate to what happened in Hawaii. Crazy thing is, we're going to Maui in November, 3 miles from the town that burnt down. You can hear excitement and joy. I'm excited to go to Hawaii. And then I'm like, oh, do we have to, will we have to drive through the town? Will they let us drive through the town? There's a lot going on there. And, I have so much compassion for those people. And I'm doing this intentionally to show you, because if you were listening to a Mote of mine, this is what you would hear. You'd hear sadness. We always say family first. And we tell our students, we don't want you to say, I have an excuse, I have a reason. What we want to hear is life. Life happened, Doc. And okay, I don't want to hear the rest of that. You're using the key phrase. Take care of yourself first, then worry about class later. Hi, I'm concerned about you. You haven't been turning your assignments in. Please get a hold of me and let me know you're okay. And that'll be a Mote that goes out. Interestingly enough, today I found this article because I was kind of changing things around as I was listening to people. This is a really good article from Edutopia about how the tone of your voice shapes your classroom culture. Check it out. All right, so yeah, even with Mote, I get frustrated. It's a great tool. It's the best one right now, but still it has its limits. It's just the way it is. All tools have their limits. The interesting thing, though, is I now have students signing up for Mote. They love it so much, they respond to my audio with their audio. And oh my gosh, has that been so cool. And again, even though I like to tell my students, the only thing that's keeping us apart is when we do a video, is this screen right here. And now when we use Mote, we're within hearing distance of one another. And we hear everything going in the background. We hear their tone, their inflection. So we have a good idea of what's going on in their world at the time. So I alluded to this earlier. I met Will this summer and he goes, I know you. He saw my name badge. And he said, you're the guy that sent all those crazy emails. And I went, yep. And then I said something to the effect, I said, and look how good your product is today. Shameless plug for Mote. I've been very fortunate to be kind of on the ground at the very beginning, grassroots with Will and his team. And it's one of the coolest tools that I have ever used because it allows me to be me. And that's very important to me because if you hide my personality, you have no idea what kind of educator I
am. Thank you so much, Dr. Moody. I was laughing along. I decided I wouldn't jump in earlier, but no, I was looking back at my email. I still have some of those emails you sent.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, maybe I'll share those. But no, this has been great. Honestly, what I loved, and Rick, please feel free to join. But I really loved. Honestly, you shared some very very personal experiences, right? You shared. It's we're quite vulnerable with us all, and I really appreciated that. I think, the reason we in the first place, launched Mote and created this product was because of the problem you identify, which is misunderstanding between people. And I know those especially, it's really important in education. It's really important in many other walks of life. But listen, this has been fantastic. We're going to take a 1 minute break, and then bring up our final guest. But I want to say thank you. It was so good to meet you in person, Isti. And keep those crazy emails coming, okay?
I got to find something to complain about right now. on a pig.
All right. Hey, take care. All right. Everyone will be back in just 1 minute's time. So don't go away. Stretch your legs, grab some refreshment, and we'll be right back with you.
All right, welcome everyone. It is now, we're bringing this in for a landing. The end of MoteCon 2023, and I'm super excited for our final presenter. I've known Luis Pertus for 4 years now, since we first became Google Innovators, now Google Champion Innovators, for New York City 2019. So that was the first time I got to meet him. And then, pandemic happened and the world shut down, at which point Luis and some other fantastic Google educators put together this group, you may have heard of it, called Global GEG. And he's one of the founding members of Global GEG. He's a Google champion, innovator, and trainer. And if you've done anything with Google and want it in Spanish, Luis is your guy. You've heard of Luis Pertus. You've met him. You've seen him everywhere. He's pretty great. I'm super excited to bring him up here. And he's, he doesn't need an introduction, but I gave him one, and I want him to say more about himself.
So, hi, everyone. How are you doing? Hi, Rick. It's so much fun to see you again.
Yep.
I'm not home. As you can see, there's no sunflowers behind me. I'm somewhere else. I'm wearing vintage Mote wear.
Oh, awesome.
This is like way back when. You see. Vintage, the OG.
Me too. Yeah, totally. These are the OG t-shirts. Anyway, I'll pop back. But yes, I again, in the spirit of celebrating OG Mote users. Yeah. So you emailed me back in the summer of 2020 and said, "Hey, you don't have any videos in Spanish language. Would you like some?" And I said, "Yes, please." And you were kind enough to help and create some great content. So I can't believe it's taken me 3 years to get back to you, say, "Hey, we'd love some more videos, please, Luis." So we'll continue the conversation. But thank you. I'm going to drop off now.
And I will do that shortly too, because you're a StreamYard pro. You've been doing this for a while, so I'll add your thing in as soon as you're ready, which I think you are.
Yeah.
Mel says she has the same
one screen.
Let's do one of these. No. Let's do that. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Okay, wait. It's being annoying.
There it is.
Let me. No, it isn't.
Oh, well, I see it. Yeah, it finally popped up. It wasn't showing for me, but then I think Will just added it in. Now we can see it.
Well,
Can you see
curiously
it?
enough, I can't see it. So I can see my screen, but I can't see.
Oh, and okay, I'm looking at my other screen where it's on YouTube,
Yeah.
and nope, I don't see it there.
Okay, let
Okay, hold
me try again. Damn it. Okay, you're back.
Yep.
This
And then
always happens, especially when you say that somebody's like an old StreamYard pro and will never have issues, and this is all so much fun.
That's-
It always happens.
it knows.
Okay, let's do this.
We had it for a second,
That one up.
and now Mel's laughing at us. That's cool.
Mel always
Great.
laughs at us. She enjoys the
Same.
uncomfortness. Okay, so I've heard that I was last but not least,
There it is.
and that sounds like so much fun. Um, so everybody, welcome to my last session in MoteCon, which I hope you'll enjoy. It's something that's very much something that I love to do. I am a Sheets nerd, if you haven't heard, and it rhymed and it's so much fun. But then I've always loved using spreadsheets in a way to make stuff happen in some way or another. So I'm going to show you guys little things that I'm piling Mote into, just to make things a little more friendly for everyone. But basically, it's a tool to create forms in Google Forms to then use that to be able to provide feedback. And in this case, we're going to talk about little ideas that might be useful for people. So we'll see. So this at the end in a while, I'm going to share a link to the presentation so you guys can see everything that's going on. And in the presentation, eventually I'll share all the resources. You can get copies of everything. There's a pair of little explanations before you go crazy and copy stuff, just if you're like deathly interested. So yeah, that's me. I'm Luis Pertus. That's my Twitter handle down there. Yeah, and then I'm one of the co-founders of Global GEG. I am so over the moon that lots of us are going to the Google Champions Symposium in Sunnyvale in about a long month or so, and I'm gonna get the opportunity to meet a whole bunch of people that I've known for the past 4 years, but I don't know in person. So yeah, Rick and we've met like in person. I've touched his face. It's there. He's real. He's not an avatar. And then other people, I'm not so sure. So it's gonna be real fun to be able to get to know all these people like for real, as Jenny's saying, in 3D, not like a 3D print, but yeah. And I'm also a data geek. I love playing around with spreadsheets and trying to make the best use of the data that we have available to us. And I am right now, I just changed positions a year ago. I'm now the data analysis and management guy at Colegio Marymount in Barranquilla. All around nice guy. I know where my towel is, and it's a lot of fun. So first, before we get into anything else, I really am a staunch believer in the fundamental that is feedback, and how feedback is really important when you're trying to build better community with teachers and better relationships among them, and as a team create a better experience for everyone. So I'm going to talk about pineapple charts. I don't know if you guys have known what a pineapple chart is, but Jennifer Gonzalez in her Cult of Pedagogy back in 2016, she talked about pineapple charts, and pineapple charts are basically you as a teacher post in your door or in the teacher's room or wherever you want. You post an availability chart with your schedule, and you post out stuff that you're going to be doing in class. So it looks sort of like this. So somebody will post a pineapple chart. The pineapple chart will have all the information of what you're doing during those days. And what you're doing basically by throwing this out there is inviting people over to your room to observe, and just as a learning experience for everyone. Not only the teacher that's doing the teaching, but the teacher is doing the observing, and the idea is for everybody to learn together. So why a pineapple? That's really funny. Pineapples back when were very, very, very expensive, and it's something that only the rich had access to pineapples. And it got to the point that people will rent pineapples just to show them off, to like make people believe that pineapples, that since they had a pineapple in their like on their table, they were very rich and they were very accommodating, and people would come over and they'd observe the pineapple. Nobody ever ate them, but it was just so weird. And then Um, um, Nowadays, pineapples are very common, and they, in this weird way, have become like a symbol of openness, of being welcome, of offering everything that you have. So basically, the idea of the pineapple chart is for people to sign up so that they can come in, well, and then observe, and then you can have a frank discussion. So this is a pineapple chart. When I give you guys the link to the spreadsheet, to the slide presentation, you'll see this is all there, and you can click on the link that's down there somewhere, and just read Jennifer's article, which is really good in explaining what's going on. And this is the things that I like to people, of being aware when you're doing peer feedback. The idea is you have to be aware of the purpose of what you're doing and why you're observing. Are you observing? Like, I like to observe teachers who are really good at what they do, because I've seen teachers that are, there's two types of, well, there's lots of types of teachers, but teachers who do very good class management are either one of two. They're like really mean ogres that are just like, oh, big all the time, and they're always, they like, apparently it's like they keep their class in control because of fear of the ogre coming out. And there's the other teachers who are just like masterful, and they dominate everything. And I really love to see those teachers who just have a wonderful perception of how their class runs and how everything works together, and how kids just behave marvelously in front of this teacher, and everywhere else they're a pain, but with this certain teacher they're awesome. And I really, really love that. So I really love going and seeing the teacher. So in my case, when I go and observe someone like that, it's just for me to learn, or to try and understand what magic is in this class that helps this person out. So it's one of those things. So these are all things that I'd love people to like bear in mind when we're doing peer feedback. The whole idea of peer feedback is for everybody's benefit. I'm sure that the teacher that's up there and I'm sneaking into the class, if I see something that I don't understand, or I don't know, or that I object to, it's a good experience to try and figure out what's going on. And I love, being able to share this. And also, of course, not overwhelm the teacher. When teachers go out and throw themselves out there and put up their pineapple charts, it's the idea is, a few people at a time, not like everybody come in. So yeah. So yeah, Aaron, it's so much fun. And I'm gonna show you guys, and you can like make a copy and then you can roll your own. But it's like a really simple idea. It's just to keep you guys like organized. And it's, if you see my Google Drive, you'll think that I'm being very hypercritical, because I'm normally very messy, but for certain things I am very, very much organized. And in this type of thing, I really like to be organized. And especially if you set it up for like a whole for teaching staff in general, and then you can consult what's been going on, it's so much more fun. So what do we do? So the first thing we have to do is we have to prepare a form. And I like Google Forms because I can work my Google form on my phone. So all I have to do is like be very, very discreet. I'll just pull out my phone. I'm observing, and if I have things in my mind, I'll just write them down on my phone and then just keep it in the form. I am going to show you guys a sample form, which is, I believe, here. Hopefully, yeah. So I made up this sample form where I bear in mind things that I want to have in, you'll see, in a doc that's going to arrive after when I finish this process. So I'll have a feedback. I have some information. If this will just for the people who are actually doing the observing. I'm asking people to be respectful. It's like very basic stuff. Sometimes it's too much. Yeah, Rick.
I'm just popping in because your audio is kind of sounding like you're talking through a fan for a second, but it tends to clear up. So I wanted to just pause you and say something.
Sure. Hey.
Oh, it's back.
How you doing?
It sounds good now.
There is an actual fan here.
Oh,
yeah. Wait. Okay. There's an actual fan. So let me turn off the actual fan. It shouldn't, affect at all. But let me just go turn it off. I'll be right back.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that was what it was, but usually it'll clear itself up. So I wanted to just pause you because you were saying some good stuff. I wanted to make sure we could hear it.
It might be crazy internet things. Yeah, look.
Yeah, probably that.
There's a fan right there. So
that
might be an
issue. That couldn't have been it. But anyway, okay. I'll leave it.
Sure. Okay. So the idea is I have this form. the idea is to share it out with other people. So it automatically collects the email addresses. So what I normally love to do is try to if you collect, if you're in a school, you know everybody's email address, so you can have, like, instead of right down here when it says who are you observing, instead of me having to fill it out, I would normally just come up with a list and have that list somewhere that feeds the form, and just all you have to do is like drop down and select a person, and then in the interior of the form, I can actually share the document that's spit out by the process with the other person, so that we're both like literally on the same page. But that's different. That goes after. Okay, so this is little simple questions. This is just stuff off the top of my head. You can be more involved or less involved when you're doing your observing. I personally don't like, too much things out there for people to observe, because then they're going to be busy trying to check everything down and not really pay attention to what's going on. So what I normally, and I love to do, is in this case, sometimes you'll see somebody with an AirPod or something like that in. So sometimes you don't actually have like time to read or anything. All you want to do is write down. So what I'll do is I'll record the same question in the form. So I'll have the question read aloud. So I can actually go, while I'm filling out the form, I can click on and then Mote will just read it out to me. I hope that was audible. So yeah. And what I'll do is I'll enhance the form, like reading out stuff or giving out advice. So after all this is said and done, so then I'm going to have this beautiful form that's ready for people out in the wild to go and fill out. So that's step one, make your form. Then the other thing we want to do is to create a document where all this stuff is going to land, because you can put it up on a spreadsheet, and for us data geeks, it's fun to have everything on a spreadsheet. But right now the spreadsheet is looking really, really boring. Yeah, it's just like everything that's there, the timestamp, everything that's interesting, and then I'll just have the titles for everything. And then yeah, for data geeks like me, it's fun and it's entertaining. It'll really, and you can like see everything in one place. But for like other more normal people, not that any of us are normal, sometimes it's easier and nicer to get all this like organized in a nice little document. So what I'll do is I'll come up with a document template that looks like this when it loads. So I'm going to have a wonderful document that's gonna it's gonna have a timestamp. I'm gonna show where when the person was observed, who I observed. I'll have like some very nice things to say to the teachers that went and observed and did the pineapple chart thing with me. And then all I'm gonna do here is in this table, I'm gonna plug in all the information that I picked up from the form, so that it's all in one same place. The idea is after I fill this out, after I fill the form out, I'm gonna get back through email. I'm gonna get this document back with all the stuff that I put into the form, and I'll have it all in one beautiful same place. Yeah, is it breaking up again?
It is again. We're wondering, is it Bluetooth audio?
Yeah, I can plug it in hardline. Give me a sec.
Okay, or if you want to switch to your laptop, StreamYard's pretty good.
Oh, that one's worse.
Is it?
That one, I've had those issues that it's got like all the automatic stuff that comes with the phone, with the headset. It's supposed to have like ever, and all it does is screw everything up. Give me a.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, while he's doing that though, as someone who always eschewed data, Luis introduced me to the beauty of Google Sheets, and I've become a data geek as well. So everything he's showing is right where I live. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So is this better? Maybe
it is, but like for whatever reason, it'll like happen randomly. So it sounds much better right there. So.
So,
and
ladies, gentlemen, I live in a third world country. Let's blame this on that. So sure. Okay. Oh, Aaron, the template is coming. Don't worry. It's going to be there. Give me a second. Let me just show you how it works. And then I'll just share everything like crazy. Okay. So the template is here. And then it gives like tips on how to get feedback and how to talk to people, and like little tips on if you can start with like I would like to thank you for the opportunity of observing your class and stuff like that. It's just basic premises on how to give feedback to somebody else. So so we have the form, which I have right here. We have a spreadsheet which is linked to the form, and if you guys don't know, forms are actually spreadsheets in disguise, which is awesome. So if you want to see the spreadsheet ever, because normally what you guys see is you see the responses and you see the nice beautiful list of responses down here. If you click here where it says view in sheets, it'll open a spreadsheet where all the answers arrive. So we'll see that in a second. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So I've got the form. Okay, now this is the revelation coming up. So this is everything you need to get this thing running. Okay, and I know it's gonna look complicated, but I'd advise that you look at this first, and since it's going to be on YouTube, you're going to be able to go back and rewatch and back and rewatch, because sometimes people get turned around starting with the autocrat thing. The first couple of times you do autocrat, it's a little daunting, but after you do it like 2-3 times and it works beautifully, people just go and they fall in love with it, especially because it's the price that all teachers prefer. Okay, so this is like all the information that you need. Now, one thing before you guys go crazy and start typing out the template for the sheet for the form, you're gonna say, oh, but you didn't give us the template for the form. It happens that since sheets and forms are like the same thing, and sheets are actually forms in disguise, when you make a copy of the sheet template, it'll automatically create the form for you. So when you and how do you get to the form from the spreadsheet? Like, because if you make a copy, you're gonna have something like this. Let me just close the form so it looks legit. And what you do is you go over here to tools, and then when it says manage form, you go to edit form, and it's gonna open the form that's magically created using the sheet. So it's already there. So just when you make a copy of the sheet, the form is gonna come along. So don't worry about like copying the form, because then you're gonna go crazy and it's not gonna work, because if you just copy the form, then you're not gonna get all the sheet goodness. Now, other thing I'm gonna recommend, if you're gonna make a copy of the spreadsheet, wait till I'm done so that all the autocrat stuff is mostly made, because right now it's blank, because I'm gonna show you how to do it, you know, from a fresh start. So when we finally have everything set up, so we have the form, we have a spreadsheet with the form lines, and we have our beautiful template. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to connect the spreadsheet to the template. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to extensions, and if you don't have AutoCAD, like you said, I do have AutoCAD, but if you don't have AutoCAD, you go to add-ons, and you're going to go get add-ons, and normally in the like launch page, it normally appears, but apparently not today, or maybe it's because I haven't installed. So you just go AutoCAD, you hit enter, and it's like it's this yellow doohickey. So you click on it, you install it, and just let it be. And please give it the permissions, because if you don't give it the permissions, it's never going to work. So we'll kill this, and then so what I'm going to do is then I'm going to go to extensions. I'm going to enable AutoCAD, and I'm going to launch it. Now I'm hoping for an error, because it always happens with people. Yes, no, this is not it. This is the new Google Duet AI thing. This thing on the right. It's so much fun, but that's for another story. Okay, so when you load AutoCAD, it's going to show you this. There's no jobs set up. So obviously we haven't done anything with it. So I'm going to give it a new job, and the job is I wanted to do a mail merge, because Google Docs and Google Sheets and all that for some reason won't do mail merges nicely. If you get one of the paid tiers, there's a way of doing a normal mail merge, but the one with AutoCAD, it's really cool because you can mail merge into a slideshow, or you can mail merge to a document. So you're going to get beautiful results. So let's just give this a MoteCon feedback. Okay. So we have to give it a name. If we don't baptize it, it's never going to work. And then now it's going to ask me for the template. So the template I have is the form, is the document that I already made. AutoCAD has to be really nice, and it's gonna show me, all the recent stuff. So I can find right here. I can find my template, If Abid is watching, or any of our global GG people are watching, yes, I know I'm using grid view because I need to see. If it was like in like list view, which we all prefer, but sometimes you need to see stuff. So let's go back to grid view. And then we select that, we select it. And then what's gonna happen now is that AutoCAD's gonna open the spread, it's gonna open the template, and it's gonna look for these. Let me show you before. You'll notice that I have certain things that are blocked in between the greater than and less than signs. What that means is I'm expecting AutoCAD to replace whatever's in there for something in the spreadsheet. And this is the title. Normally, this is the column. This is the title of the column. It's what's mostly used for. But if you like made a mistake, you did something, you're gonna be able to correct it within AutoCAD. So once we have this, it already knows what it is. So we hit next, and now it's gonna show me this very, very important window in which it's gonna show me, look, I found timestamp. I'm expecting to plug in whatever is in the timestamp column. I found who you're observing. I expect to plug in who you're observing, and so on and so forth. If for some reason you have you made a mistake or you did something different, all you have to do is plug in whatever, it'll read the columns in the spreadsheet and it'll just plug in. You can just plug in the correct one if you made a mistake in the document. So right now, hopefully there are no mistakes. So then I can hit next. Now, the file name. The file name is super important because I really need to know, because I'm going to have a bunch of files that are going to be generated. So I want to know what file is which. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, here it is. Who were you observing? Is this one? So this blue flyout gives me all the titles of the columns. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, and then that copies that name up there. So all I have to do is hit paste, and it's going to give me who are you observing, which is like a shortcut so that I don't have to write it out because I'm lazy and I do typos all the time. And in this case, what I would do is I'm also going to insert today's date. So you'll see that we have it today. I'm going to insert today's date basically because I'm expecting to observe people more than once. So if I insert it today, I'm also going to have not only the person that I'm observing, but the dates, so I can have everything more or less in order. And then just give it a name. So let's give this a MoteCon pineapple heart thingy. Okay. And I'm going to want it as Google Doc because I want to be able to eventually share this with the person I observe, so we can like maybe work on this together. If for some reason we can't sit down in person and we have to do this through Meet or Zoom or one of those, we're going to have a document that we can both refer to. Please, before you share it to the person you observe, just watch out what you wrote. Not so much for typos or stuff, or maybe when you're observing, you write something very honest to yourself because you have issues with something that you saw. Maybe smooth it out so that it's a nicer way of approaching it to the person you're sharing to. Just bear that in mind. I know it's ridiculous and it seems honest and everything, but sometimes you have to bear in mind people's feelings. Well, all of the time, but sometimes. Okay. So next, where am I going to plug all of this? I have a folder for MoteCon, so I'm going to stick everything in the folder for MoteCon because it's just going to be for now. What I normally do is I have a dedicated folder for all of these so that all of those will fill up. I have something very similar to this, doesn't use Mote at all, but what I do is every day I have a list of all the kids in my school's birthdays. So every day on their birthday, they get like a little card from me if it's their birthday. So I have a folder somewhere in my school account that's filled to the brim with PDFs of birthdays from years past. So bear in mind, it's going to be there. If you don't place anything as a destination folder, it's going to be in the root of your drive, and that gets uncomfortable and really messy really fast. So yeah. So next, dynamic folder references. Let's ignore this for now, but if you want like really advanced AutoCAD stuff, you could have some weird thing within the spreadsheet that would organize things into different folders. So like, for example, our school does preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school. I could have like some list of the teachers, and then I could assign which one of the sections they belong to. So I could have all of the preschool observations in the preschool folder, all of the middle school in the middle school folder, and so on and so forth. And that would be with dynamic folder references. But that is interesting to figure out, especially if you don't know how to Google Drive works. It's daunting the first time. After you've done it once or twice, it's super easy, but you can do it. We're not going to do it now because I'm not set it up. You have to know all the addresses for all the folders. You can't just plug in the name, which would be awesome. You have to know the Google Drive reference for the folder, and it's fun, but it's a pain. So let's ignore it for now. Okay, merge condition. I usually love to do this because sometimes AutoCAD goes insane. So I'll normally add one where the timestamp equals not null. It usually doesn't break, but when it goes crazy, it'll start generating blank documents until it hits the bottom of the spreadsheet. And right now there's only 100 rows, but it grows and grows and grows and grows. So it could get big fast and it'll eat up your hard drive. So best to put this in, column, not null. This will do it automatically. If you don't want timestamp, you want to select another column for it to know what it is that it has to mess with, just do that. But timestamp works wonderfully because it's the first thing that the form places on the spreadsheet. Share docs and send emails, obviously. So I'm gonna have AutoCAD email me the results of the form. So I'm gonna say yes, email it as a share as an editable doc. So all I have to do is I'm gonna send this to someone. So in this case, I pick up the email address. So I'm picking it up here. So right now, paste. Okay. And then the subject, I'm going to pick up the person's name, which is who you're observing. Okay. Hi. This is your pineapple observation of colon and then the name. And then don't worry about it. It just looks crazy, but that'll be replaced by whoever's name is in there. So type a message, hello, that you'll find the document. Please make sure you share your feed with person you observed, or else it's silly to spend all that time and not do it. Of course, if I spell it correctly, it works even better. Okay, yeah. So that's it. So then I hit next. Now this is the basis of how AutoCAD works. All you have to do is you can have it run on one of two triggers. You can have it run every time the form is submitted, which is what I want to do. I have to enable, so I'm going to say yes. Or you can have it run every so often. So like for the birthday thing I told you guys about earlier, I have that run every, I think it's either 12 hours. So it's going to hit the day within the 12-hour cycle. So it's going to send out birthday greetings to the people whose birthday it is today. But that's another story. So right now I'm done and I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now everything is ready to work. So all that needs to happen right now is I'm going to go to the form. I'm going to fill it out. So my email address, you can write me there. So yeah, it is my real email address. Who am I observing? Let's say I'm observing Rick. And then what did I like the most? Now here, although I love Mote, there's a deal here. You can put in your feedback using Mote, but when you get the feedback in the document, it's going to be the link to the Mote, to the Mote. How do you call a Mote? The actual audio. Anyway, it's a link to the actual Mote audio. So it can work, but then I think it won't, unless you figure it out how to do it. It's gonna work weird. So you have to copy and paste the Mote thing. So basically, I'm gonna write. So would you like most of it? Rick does very funny faces and keeps the kids entertained. Okay, what do you think Rick writes? I'm gonna make something really fast, just so we understand what's going on. How flexible faces. And then anything I had an issue with, he's too tall. And finally, anything we'd like to discuss? See you in Sunnyvale. Okay, so hit submit. Form leaves. Okay, beautiful. Now, if we go and sneak a peek into the spreadsheet, we're going to see everything's here, and then AutoCAD is right here doing its work by itself. So right now, it says it's starting to do its thing, and then in like a few seconds, everything's going to pop up. And what's going to happen is going to send me email. So let's go check my mail. Come on, email to spreadsheet, and we can see that it's done. Okay, so we hover over the link. It's going to show us that there's something there, and then look, we've got the date and we've got Rick Ballou. And then I'm not going to open it here. I'm going to open it from the email because I want you guys to see the experience. So here's the link. Here's the email. Here's your hi. This is your pineapple observation, and then it's got all the text that I wrote, and then I'm going to have attached. I'm going to have the document that we created. Okay, so if we open the document, you're going to see that it's nice for us lazy people. Everything is already filled out. So and it can be as long as you want. The form has everything in paragraph. So actually, it will like do. It will expand everything in there. So look, it says the observation was today at around 4:30. I observed Rick Ballou. This is what I like the most. You know what? Now that I'm seeing everything, I should have bolded this and left this in normal so that the titles look better. But that's all I have to do. Is go to the. It would be awesome if I edited the template and everything would like update. It doesn't work that way. But what I would do is, just so you guys have it for next time, I would bold this. If you want to bear this in mind when you actually do this, however you format the text. Oops, no, okay. This is the thing of speaking English and doing with a Spanish keyboard. Okay, so this, however you format this, is how it's gonna pop up in the actual document. So let me just bold these. So when you guys make your copy, it'll already be pre-bolded. Of course, nobody's gonna actually do exactly this, but you can play around with it and just experiment on how it works. Okay, Control B. Now I'm gonna show you a cheat. Yeah, Rick.
I was just coming in to say this all looks amazing. I want to see your real quick cheat, and then we got a boogie. But this is super cool.
Okay, real quick cheat is I already emailed this, but then I wanted to correct the bold. So what I do is I erase what's here in these columns made by AutoCAD.
Yep.
And I just extension, run AutoCAD again, and then the form is not going to fill itself again. I'm just going to have AutoCAD rerun it. So
perfect.
And it's going to have everything. It's going to do it again. All nice. Right. And this
just hit the run again. Yep. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to presentation. Now, these are the links when it loads. There you go. So if you click on all of those, you're going to have your very own copy. Except for AutoCAD, it just shows you the link to the page, and it's really awesome. Everything else, you can have a copy of these slides. Is those over there? It's the MoteCon slides, the MoteCon template for the observation, and the MoteCon sheet template. If you just want to play around with it, the sheet will automatically generate the form. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and like apply it somehow. And it's been so much fun being here and talking to everyone. And you're muted, Will.
I'm back. That was great. I've always wanted to use AutoCAD, and I'll be honest, I've been a little too lazy to learn or too scared to learn, but you've actually walked me through. I feel like I now have the confidence to give it a go, so I'm going to try it. It also makes me think, to be honest, why don't we just build a product that does this, right, and makes it all sound beautiful and actually embed the... Because I think one of the things you can't do with that is embedding, like you said, like you didn't actually embed any
You
motes into
can
the page.
embed like the link. You can embed the link. It's since it's expecting text, I can tell it to embed it as a link, and it'll do it. I can even embed pictures. But the thing is, it has to know that it's coming as a link. So if I put in like normal text, it's gonna break because it's not a link. So you'd have to be like, or you'd have to do a form which is like specifically it says, hey, use Mote so that this will work, or else it'll break.
Yeah, I get you. Right. So yeah, you'd have to, but I can anyway. You've got me thinking. Maybe we could productize something, make it even easier for people. So
That'd be cool.
I'll give that thought. This is awesome, and what a way to finish. MoteCon, you are the last. This is it. Anyone still here? Congratulations, you made it to the end. You've experienced, I think, definitely the best wallpaper of anybody. At MoteCon so far. So that's an amazing backdrop you got there. Which country are you in again, Luis? Where are you based?
I'm in Colombia.
You're in Colombia. That's right. Yeah. I remember it was very difficult to figure out how to mail you.
I remember you told me you'd mailed it, and it arrived. It arrived like a month later, but it arrived. Look,
it got there.
And I've still got like 50 stickers left over from the bunch that I got.
Yeah, I know. That's it. We were determined. There was the early days. Well, listen, thank you so much. I think it's perfect that us with our OG Mote t-shirts are representing, and thank you to everybody. Thank you to Rick for hosting this session. It's been fantastic. Thank you to all the other Mote ambassador leaders. Thank you to everybody who joined in. We've had some terrific Mote ambassadors. And extended members of the family join in, so thank you. We've had Mel, we've had Jennifer, we've had Cora the Corgi, whose human identity will remain a mystery. And we've had and Eleni's even up already today. So hey, Eleni.
Oh my goodness.
So listen, this has been fantastic. Really appreciate everyone putting the work in, and we will be taking these. We're going to share just in a moment for the final time the certificate link. So snap that QR code and certificate link if you want to get a certificate for joining this session. We'll be chapterizing these sessions and publishing them in the Mote Learning Zone on our YouTube channel. And that all for me to say is thank you, Rick. Any parting words?
No, this was fantastic. Of like all the MoteCon sessions, I mean, I don't want to pick favorites or nothing, but obviously session 4 was this one was maybe the best. So I will say I watched the other ones and they were pretty great too. So it's hard to quantify that, but this was great. So
this is great. All right. Well, listen, thanks so much, everybody, and thank you, Luis. That was brilliant, and thank you, Rick, and we'll see you all soon.
You bet.
Everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye.